Social media platforms thrive on the constant trend cycles, and especially the ones that have to do with beauty and appearances. Last year, we saw things like legging legs, clean girl aesthetic, and Pilates princess. The list honestly goes on, there's way more. And with this plethora of beauty trends, it would appear as though Gen Z is pioneering a world of diverse beauty standards and body positivity, but beneath the appearance of all of this progress lies a disturbing truth. Despite the diverse amount of options, the beauty standards facing Gen Z might be the most harmful we've seen in decades. You really could tell how harmful these beauty standards are by the way that celebrities are treated nowadays. I've been noticing how celebrities like Ariana Grande, Selena Gomez, and Millie Bobby Brown, just to name a few, have been facing so much criticism for their looks recently. Last year, we also saw Kylie Jenner being the center of attention when it came to looks and beauty. And seeing the overwhelming amount of criticism that these celebrities are facing shows me just how bad beauty standards are getting. We're also seeing teens developing appearance anxiety, and beauty standards seem to have regressed to the harmful norms of the past. And the only difference is that today's toxic beauty culture hides behind a language of empowerment and wellness. But really, we can thank social media for enabling this to happen at such an unprecedented scale with greater intensity and speed than we have ever seen before. And so in today's video, we're going to explore how Gen Z is finding themselves trapped in probably the most demanding and psychologically damaging beauty ecosystem in history. And that's despite growing up alongside movements that were meant to liberate them from these very pressures. What's up, YouTube? It's Tinysey, and if you find that you like this video or videos like this, please click the subscribe button because it really helps out my channel. And welcome to my digital garden. Before we dive into the chaotic world of Gen Z beauty standards and this new wave of appearance policing, let me put you onto something that actually makes life easier. Because honestly, if there's one thing more exhausting than the pressure to meet an ever-changing algorithm-approved version of perfection, it's the never-ending struggle of trying to schedule a doctor's appointment. Between the confusing websites and the month-long wait times and having to call during some secret 2-hour window that's in the middle of your workday, it feels like getting healthcare is harder than fitting into these crazy beauty standards. That's where today's video sponsor ZocDoc comes in, because they've been my go-to since 2021. It's honestly one of the most convenient websites I've ever used for booking a medical appointment. If you've ever had to dig through an outdated website just to find a doctor who actually takes your insurance, or worse, been told that the next available appointment is in 6 months, then you already know how much of a headache that this process can be. That's why I really love ZocDoc. It's a free website that lets you search for high quality in-network doctors across nearly every specialty with more than 100,000 healthcare providers. Whether you need a dermatologist, therapist, eye doctor, or even a last-minute dentist appointment, you can filter by insurance, location, patient rating, and availability, and then instantly book your visit right from the website. They also have bookings happen in as fast as 24 to 72 hours, which is a lifesaver when you need to see someone ASAP. I've used it to book my yearly medical appointments, but I've also used it when I had a persistent cough last year. I booked multiple appointments on the website and it was super fast and convenient for me to use. Before you book, you can read real reviews from actual patients so you know what to expect, and this gave me so much peace of mind, especially when I was trying somebody new. So stop putting off that checkup, that specialist visit, or whatever health thing you've been meaning to handle. Go to ZocDoc.com/Tinysey, and it'll also be linked in the description to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this channel, and now back to today's video. Social media is already a crazy place as it is, but it's definitely getting more ruthless depending on what side of it you're on. And there's countless of TikTok and Instagram posts with the craziest discourse around women's looks in particular. It feels like people are getting way too comfortable commenting and giving their opinions on other people's bodies, and I just don't know when it got so bad. Recently, these 3 women have been facing the brunt of a lot of this judgment, and because they're celebrities, people probably feel less bad about everything that they're saying. My feed's unwillingly pushing a lot of content that has to do with Selena Gomez. It's not that I don't like her, but the content is always so toxic. People literally overanalyze every little bit about her life, whether it's her looks, who she's dating, anything. They just have at it with so much discourse. I find that especially when it comes comes to her looks, she can't win because no matter what she does or how she changes, people have something to say. But recently, Selena Gomez attended the Screen Actors Guild Award and she looked different again, as people do, they change, and people had even more to say. So you could see she looks very gorgeous in her dress. She's on the red carpet. She looks nice. She looks refreshed. But looking through the comments, you could see some of the toxic things that have become so normalized to comment. So someone said she's back. Back from what? What is she back from? Another person pointing out her fans are her biggest haters. For real, she's back. She looks good again. I'm sorry, but what? Because really, like, are you really her fan? Do you really like her if you're willing to comment that on a video about her? Like, just let her be, let her live. If you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say anything at all. Before any of y'all start, she literally can't take Ozempic because of lupus. So I guess a lot of people are accusing her of taking weight loss medication. And it's crazy how people feel so comfortable commenting on the way that she looks because they have no idea what she's going through. And it's better to just not comment on people's body in the first place. It should not be the center of attention. It should not be reason for discourse and all of these analyzations and theories.
Oh yeah, my weight's a big one too. Everyone just has something to say and it's really making me sad, and not even sad because you know what? No, I'm not a victim, everyone. I just think it's made me a tad bitter.
I think it's part of being a celebrity, having to address like what's happening to you. You can't always act like you don't know all of the bad things people are saying about you, but it's still sad seeing that she has to address it in the first place. I liked this comment. Y'all are so mean. You're criticizing her voice when she's speaking so vulnerable and honest. I hate that side of humanity. Y'all should be embarrassed. Lupus or not, your weight shouldn't be a topic of discussion for strangers, period. And that's exactly correct. It's become way too normalized talking about people's weight, talking about people's looks, talking about literally every little thing. And it's because social media allows for a platform to do this. Why do people always have something to say? It is exhausting. It's everywhere. I'm glad seeing in this comment that a lot of people are pointing this out. And it seems like we are getting to that place where we're recognizing just how bad it's gotten. And we're starting to hold people accountable when we see them doing this sort of behavior. Selena Gomez is not the only one receiving this treatment. This situation with Millie Bobby Brown is probably the most uncomfortable out of all of the three I'm going to talk about. Millie Bobby Brown grew up on camera after Stranger Things blew up, and instead of just letting her grow up normally, people have been dissecting every single change in her appearance. And I mean every single one. We will see like year transformations of her looks, and it's disturbing. A quick search of her name on TikTok brings up countless videos focusing not on her talents or accomplishments, but on how her face has changed, as if that's not what happens when children become adults. And for Millie Bobby Brown, it's also got to that point where she had to create a video calling out the many adults that were creating articles, yes, full-on articles on how she's aged.
I want to take a moment to address something that I think is bigger than just me. Something that affects every young woman who grows up under public scrutiny. I think this is very necessary to talk about. I started in the industry when I was 10 years old. I grew up in front of the world, and for some reason, people can't seem to grow up with me. Instead, they act like I'm supposed to stay frozen in time, like I should still look the way I did on Stranger Things Season 1. And because I don't, I'm now a target. I want to talk about some of the articles that have recently released while I'm on my press tour, and some of the writers who are so desperate to tear young women down. One article reads, "Why are Gen Zers like Millie Bobby Brown aging so badly?" Written by Lydia Hawkin. "What has Millie Bobby Brown done to her face?" Written by John Eli. "Millie Bobby Brown mistaken for someone's mum as she guides younger sister Ava through LA." Written by Cassie Carpenter. Another article reads, "Little Britain's Matt Lucas takes savage swipe at Millie Bobby Brown's new mummy makeover look." Written by Bethann Edwards. "Amplifying an insult rather than questioning why a grown man is mocking a young woman's appearance. This isn't journalism. This is bullying. The fact that adult writers are spending their time dissecting my face, my body, my choices is disturbing, and the fact that some of these articles are written by women makes it even worse. We always talk about supporting and uplifting young women, but when it comes down to it, it seems a lot easier to just tear them down for clicks. Disillusioned people can't handle seeing a girl become a woman on her terms, not their own. I refuse to apologize for growing up. I refuse to make myself smaller to fit the unrealistic expectations of people who can't handle seeing a girl become a woman. I will not be shamed for how I look, how I dress, or how I present myself. We have become a society where it's so much easier to criticize than it is to pay a compliment. Why is it the knee-jerk reaction to say something horrible rather than just say something nice? If you have a problem with that, I have to wonder, what is it that actually makes you so uncomfortable? Let's do better, not just for me, but for every young girl who deserves to grow up without the fear of being torn apart for simply existing. Thank you.
And I think by her saying this out loud and putting a video out there saying, yes, I see these horrible articles that you adults are writing about my looks. Hopefully people will think twice before they decide to put that mean comment out there or put a whole article out there. Last year, we saw the Gen Z's aging like milk trend start to blow up, and so many people made videos on this. I didn't want to really talk about it in the way everyone else was because I did think that it was super rude and critical. I think that we're all aging differently for whatever reason. And in the end of the day, it's not something we should shame a generation for. It's not something that we should shame anyone for, because in the end of the day, we're all a victim to the beauty standards. And if we don't point it out, then we can also be the ones on the other side of that finger saying, oh, you look bad, you look old, you look insert adjective. So hopefully by her addressing all of this out loud, things get better and a change starts to happen, because it even prompted me to make this video. So that's the positive. These are the type of videos that people felt comfortable uploading. Like, think about it. Someone sat there, edited, put the text on this screen and posted it. That's just absolutely insane. And I think something important she pointed out was that it's a conversation that touches more than just her. She's not the only one that gets criticized for her looks. It's an issue that happens especially to women, just getting critiqued for growing up, not looking how you did when you were a teenager. And it's very unfair. We shouldn't be held to a particular version of our looks that doesn't align with us anymore, especially in the social media age where there is an archive of people's looks since they were 10 years old. So it can happen to anyone. It's not just the Millie Bobby Brown issue. And I'm pretty sure people have experienced this sort of bullying happening to them. But I don't even want to platform a lot of these videos too much. So if you want to see them yourself, you can go to the Millie Bobby Brown tag, Selena Gomez tag, any of these people's tag on TikTok and see the absolute craziness that is these search. Then we have Ariana Grande, and people have been making think pieces about her for quite some time, but it's only gotten more negative recently. When the trailer for Wicked dropped, instead of focusing on her performance or the fact that she got this great role, people immediately just started picking apart her looks. They didn't like the blonde hair. They thought that she was too thin. They didn't like the color palette she was wearing. They honestly had a critique for everything, and it was very insensitive, especially when it came to Ariana Grande's weight. People had so much to say about this, so much discourse, so many videos were put out just about this topic. She's literally been the cover for a lot of talks about thin being back in because of her change in look. Instead of people thinking, maybe she's going through something or just minding their business, people immediately started to jump to criticizing her for being too skinny or accusing her of plastic surgery. And I found this to be super insensitive because Ariana Grande, like Millie Bobby Brown, has addressed comments about her weight before and said that she doesn't like it. She doesn't want people to comment on her weight or feel comfortable doing this.
I just wanted to address your concerns about my body and talk a little bit about what it means to be a person with a body and to be seen and to be paid such close attention to. I think we should be gentler and less comfortable commenting on people's bodies, no matter what. If you think you're saying something good or well-intentioned, whatever it is, healthy, unhealthy, big, small, this, that, sexy, not sexy. We just shouldn't. There are ways to compliment someone or to ignore something that you see that you don't like, that I think we should help each other work towards. But I just also wanted to say, one, there are many different kinds of beautiful. There are many different ways to look healthy and beautiful. I know personally for me, the body that you've been comparing my current body to was the unhealthiest version of my body. I was on a lot of it and eating poorly and at the lowest points of my life when I looked the way you consider my healthy, but that in fact wasn't my healthy. And I know I shouldn't have to explain that, but I do feel like maybe having an openness and some sort of vulnerability here will be something good might come from it. I don't know. That's the first thing. Healthy can look different. The second thing is you never know what someone is going through. So even if you are coming from a loving place and a caring place, that person probably is working on it or has a support system that they are working on it with. And the third one's unrelated, I guess. I just wanted to extend some love your way and tell you that you're beautiful no matter what phase you're in. Have a very beautiful day.
This video was posted in 2023, and the conversation has not moved that far in the years that have passed since it was posted. And a matter of fact, people are still posting videos about her weight, about her looks. She's almost the face of the Thin is In movement against her will. And I think the message still holds true. We shouldn't be commenting on people's bodies. It shouldn't be something that we're so comfortable with, and that people should keep their negative comments to themselves. If you have a compliment, say your compliment, and even at that. Because I think the fact that we comment on people's looks, period, is what makes people feel so comfortable and makes it so normalized to also say negative things. And I don't think it's going to be easy to get people to stop commenting on people's looks. Like, that is so ingrained in society. Like, I don't even think I would be able to not do that. It's just so programmed into me. But the least that we can do is only say positive comments, only say things. If you have something nice to say, if you don't like someone's look, you don't like their hair, you don't like their weight, whatever, keep it to yourself. Ultimately, people don't care about these women's feelings. And I know people might say, hey, they signed up for this, they're celebrities, but in the end, this is bigger than celebrities getting picked apart. This has become more and more ingrained in our culture recently. And it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or not. Once you appear on the internet, it's fair game. And that makes the internet feel so unsafe, more unsafe than it already can be. The body positivity movement emerged as a powerful response to decades of narrow beauty standards. This movement really began in the late 2000s, and it gained momentum through the late 2010s. The movement was all about championing and accepting all of the body types, skin tones, and features that had previously been marginalized in mainstream media. The message to me was very clear, and it was that beauty comes in all forms, and everyone deserves representation. And so with this proclamation, brands decided to hop on the trend, and they featured more diverse models. We would even see magazine covers occasionally showcasing untouched images, and celebrities would speak out against unrealistic beauty standards. So during this time, it really felt as though we were witnessing a cultural shift away from these toxic beauty standards that had dominated previous decades. But now I'm realizing that a lot of this progress might have been largely superficial. Although the body positivity movement was well-intentioned, we saw how it was quickly co-opted by corporations who saw it as a means to making money by appearing inclusive. The result is what could be called curated diversity. It was the acceptance of different looks, but only within these strict parameters. If a campaign featured a plus-size model, they would still have the hourglass figure or a flat stomach. And if a dark-skinned model was chosen for one of these beauty advertisements, she also would be conforming to Eurocentric facial features. So the diverse representations were carefully selected to push boundaries just enough to seem progressive without truly challenging any beauty norms. And this commercial dilution of body positivity created a paradox for Gen Z. They were growing up hearing messages about self-acceptance, but they were also being bombarded with images that still were upholding these rigid beauty standards. These beauty standards obviously aren't new, they're just packaged a little bit differently. Women still are held to the same expectations that they've always been held to. Like we see with Millie Bobby Brown, women are still expected to be forever young. She's in her 20s, but people still expect her to look how she did when she's 13 or 15. It's impossible. You can't look how you did when you were a child. We also see the ongoing beauty standard of thinness, and this fluctuates with time. Sometimes it's thin and curvy, sometimes it's thin but slightly toned. You're also supposed to look natural but not have any flaws at the same time. And it's because people want to fit into this natural beauty standard, or even that desire to look perfect but at the same time effortless, like you can't look like you tried or you'll be called out for it. And the only difference between the early 2000s and now is that instead of getting these messages through occasional magazines, commercials, or even music videos, they're literally beamed directly into our brains through the endless social media scrolling. And these social media platforms aren't just reflecting the attitudes, they're actively making them worse. If the destruction of the body positivity movement laid the groundwork for Gen Z's beauty crisis, then social media probably built the entire structure. Today, we see that 97% of teens are present online and 32% admit that they spend an average of 5 hours daily scrolling through social-based apps. And those are just the teens that admitted to their screen time. And these feeds aren't just showing you celebrities and models, they're showing you your everyday peers to compare yourself to, and this is arguably worse. According to a study held by Curology, 4 in 10 Gen Z individuals say social media has caused them to feel anxious about their appearance. And even worse, 72% of teenagers are saying they feel that sort of pressure to look perfect due to the higher beauty standards that are set by social media platforms. 75% believe that these standards are exacerbated by the widespread use and promotion of filters. I mean, we're constantly using filters. Sometimes you just open the app and it's just already there by default. This is resulting in 25% of Gen Z saying they're uncomfortable sharing their bare face on social media without makeup or facial features. 37% of them wish they could walk around with the facial filters on in real life. I've even seen people going as far as to getting plastic surgery to fit the look of a particular filter that they like. We also can't forget the fact that Gen Alpha is already on the internet as well as becoming beauty influencers. They are very obsessed with skincare and they already have 10-step routines and they haven't even reached the 4th grade. So Gen Alpha is already seeing how they're expected to perform in society, and they are starting to do these 10-step beauty cares, skincare, running through Sephora, and just caring about their looks a bit too early. In the past, we did have things like Barbie makeup palettes. I had one myself, but like it wasn't serious. It was truly just play makeup, and I didn't feel any pressure to wear this or do this every day. Matter of fact, it probably went stale in one of my toy boxes after a month. So it's nothing like the pressure little girls are probably feeling and the rush they're feeling to start partaking in the tiring beauty routine. It's concerning and it's very telling. And algorithms are making sure that we see plenty of this unhelpful content. I was unfortunate enough to happen upon Skinny Talk. And this is a whole section of TikTok where phobia is masked as comedy or as wellness advice. And so this is a known side of TikTok that some people are even scared to find themselves on. It's not healthy. It's not healthy what these people are doing and promoting proudly on their TikTok accounts. We also saw the big back trend last year, which again is just phobia dressed up as humor, and people would proudly call themselves big backs and just go on to ridicule themselves or others for eating a little sweet snack and calling themselves a big back for it. And it's just thinly veiled phobia. We also saw the return of the thigh gap last year with legging legs. This was a short-lived trend, but nonetheless, seeing it was so shocking because it showed me that we're moving back to 2016. I've seen those invasive plastic surgery speculation videos where they're drawing random circles on celebrities' faces where they supposedly had a sort of procedure. And this is just everywhere. You'll see it on TikTok, Instagram, wherever short form is present, but ultimately social media drives this problem in multiple ways. You find that controversial comments about someone's appearance is oftentimes the first comment or the one that gets the most engagement. People will be like, oh, I was running to the comments to see if someone would say anything. And again, I feel like it's just made to be humorous or funny, but at the end of the day, that's at the expense of someone's feelings. And this will just be on a random person's post. And it really brings me back to the empathy problem that we're seeing in society. You are not going to disappear disappear in the sea of comments, somebody is going to see that and it's going to have a real effect on them. And we should care just a little bit more about people's feelings. We're also seeing companies use wellness washing as a tactic to continue to drive forward the beauty industry. And it feels less and less like self-care and more like a marketing ploy to keep these beauty standards alive. And Gen Z really prides themselves on being progressive, but when it comes to body image, I find that there's this strange conservatism that's happening. And for a generation that talks so much about breaking the norms, they've embraced a lot of rigid standards about appearance. We're all being pushed towards looking the same, acting the same, being the same, which I've talked about in previous videos. We've created this world where unique features are treated as flaws to be fixed instead of what makes someone distinctive and beautiful and unique. And I see how this is clearly affecting Gen Z because they have been a generation that has focused a lot on their looks with a lot of the trends that they have. I see it in the endless aesthetics they have. I see it in the endless makeup trends that they have. And I think it's because they've grown up so much on social media. It'll probably be even harder for generations that come after them because they'll probably be even more connected with technology. One of the weirdest things about our current moment is that Gen Z is basically getting robbed from their traditional awkward teenage phase. I remember when you could get a bad hairstyle or you can go through a weird fashion phase and only your immediate social circle would witness it. But now everything's forever on the internet. And that's not to say that there wasn't an obsession with looks back then, because there definitely was, but it wasn't as bad as I imagine it is for teenagers now. And that's because we didn't grow up with social media as we know it today. Teenagers aren't really afforded the luxury of the awkward phase because they're on social media at such young ages. By 13, kids have already internalized so many of these toxic beauty standards that previous generations didn't even know about until they were much older. And this has created this situation where teens are simultaneously more appearance conscious and way more critical both of themselves but also their peers. So the freedom to experiment and look kind of awkward while figuring yourself out has been replaced with this pressure to look Instagram ready basically from elementary school. I felt like this was also important to talk about, and it's that it's always the women. The most obvious thing about all this appearance policing is how gendered it is. Sure, male celebrities get some comments about how they look, but it's nowhere near as much as what women are dealing with, and that's a huge problem. I think a well-known example is that male celebrities like Adam Sandler can walk around in basketball shorts and an oversized t-shirt, or even show up to award shows extremely underdressed, and you won't hear much of a peep. Men will get praised for growing into a dad bod or getting gray hair, but women would be torn apart for the same things. Last year, we even saw the medium ugly guy start to become a trend, and this was where celebrities like Timothée Chalamet or Jeremy Allen White were deemed to be attractive for their medium ugly looks, and that's their words, not mine. These guys were getting praised for refreshingly normal looks, while women are expected to maintain impossible beauty standards 24/7 all throughout their life. Actors like Harrison Ford are still getting casted as action heroes, but actresses in their 40s struggle to find roles that aren't the concerned mother or the bitter ex-wife. This double standard is just so obvious, and it doesn't take much to figure out. Unfortunately, a woman's value is still tied to her appearance in a way that just doesn't apply for men. And while we pretend that we've made all of this progress, the evidence is still right there every time when we open social media or turn on the TV. If Gen Z beauty standards represent regression that's disguised as progress, then what would genuine progress actually look like for us? I feel like true liberation from these beauty standards would look like moving beyond representation and diversity to actually challenging the fundamental premise that appearance should be central to anyone's identity or value. We would need to start questioning not only who is considered beautiful, but also why beauty remains so important in determining our worth, especially for women. Some movements that are already happening that are kind of aligning with this form of thinking is the concept of body neutrality. And this is all about focusing on what our bodies can actually do rather than how they look. And it offers an alternative to both negative body image and the pressure to love every aspect of one's appearance, because that's just going to be difficult for anyone to do. Something people also could do is start practicing media literacy. This is so important, and it's only going to become more important in the future. We need to be able to analyze beauty messaging a bit more clearly and start to understand when something's harmful rather than helpful to our body image. And most importantly, we need to understand that our individual self-confidence cannot solve a systemic problem. Of course, personal empowerment matters as well, and there's a time and there's a place for that. But if we're only focusing on individuals feeling better within this toxic beauty system, then we won't focus on actually challenging the system itself. Gen Z is unfortunately finding themselves in a paradoxical position. They were supposed to be the inheritors of movements that were meant to liberate them from these very beauty standards, but unfortunately instead they are probably facing the most psychologically unsafe and ruthless beauty standards to date. And the seeming progress of recent decades with the more diverse representation, body positivity messaging, and the inclusion of different body types has in many ways served as a cover for this intensification of beauty pressure. And what makes these Gen Z beauty standards particularly harmful and terrifying is the fact that they're disguised as empowerment and that they're reaching people that are so young in age. We need to see more than representation and inclusive beauty campaigns. We need to start questioning these premises about appearance, that it should be our identity, and we need to challenge the economic systems that profit from these insecurities. Because as we see, trying to feel beautiful within these harmful standards just doesn't work. Anyway, I could talk about this topic literally forever and ever. How do you guys feel about the transformation of these beauty standards over the decades? If you enjoyed the video and you watched to the end, please comment the flower emoji because nature heals, and after a topic like this, we all need to relax, especially me. I've been filming for like 4 or 5 hours. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video essay.